everybody, welcome back to Chill Vibes Only. Today's video is going to be on how to respond instead of react. So oftentimes in our life we are going to be hit with things that we weren't expecting. We're going to be put in tricky situations, uncomfortable situations, arguments, sad times, difficult times, and it's important that we gain skills to work on responding in those situations instead of reacting. And what I mean by that is a response is well thought out. You are aware of what you are saying, how you are communicating what you're saying, and how you're feeling. Whereas a reaction is usually that gut instinct. You're not thinking, you're just talking or speaking or going through actions, but you're not coming from a conscious place. So reactions are natural, normal emotions to have, especially when you're triggered by something and especially when you're taken off guard. For example, you're driving down the street, a ball runs out in front of you, your first gut instant reaction is to slam on the brakes, which is a perfectly great reaction. However, in our relationships with people, oftentimes our first gut reaction, especially when it's coming from a triggering, sensitive place, might not always be the best for that conversation. So today's video is about learning tips and tricks that I've used in my life to help me better respond in those situations and therefore better communicate how I actually feel. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So to get started, I usually will first kind of practice in the morning. Even before any situation has happened, I meditate every single morning. So I become super grounded. I become super aware of my intentions for that day. So some of my intentions are actually from the 4 agreements. So they are to be impeccable with your word, to not make assumptions, to not take things personally, and to always do your best. If you guys haven't read the book, The 4 Agreements, I highly, highly recommend it. It's awesome and it really helps ground those intentions and choices that you can make every single day into your life. So grounding yourself in the morning helps set you up because it prepares you for how you want to respond throughout the day. So acknowledging, hey, today unexpected things may be thrown my way. I might have to deal with certain emotions that I wasn't ready for, but I'm setting myself up with these intentions as present and as calm and understanding and thoughtful as I can if these situations do come up. Setting your intentions at the beginning of the day, giving yourself that little time of quiet can really help prep you for if you do get these unexpected situations thrusted your way. You had a moment earlier on of stillness and of peace, and that's going to help bring that energy into the rest of your day. Whereas if you just get up right away and you're rushing around and you're late for work and then all of a sudden there's traffic and someone jumps out in front of you, or you get a crack in your windshield, that's just going to add on to that chaotic energy. So starting our days off with a very calming, still energy is going to help bring those into our responses later on throughout the day. So that's my first tip, always starting just from a place of ease, setting intention, quiet time for yourself can really help you better prepare for what might be thrown at you throughout the day. So once you've kind of set your intentions for the day and you go off into the world, it's likely that things are going to come at you. So for the sake of this video, we can just talk about maybe you're driving your car to work and a stone hits your windshield and it cracks. You have your coworker in the seat beside you, and they might have not been giving you the most positive conversation that morning. So now you're in the spot where you have the opportunity to react or to respond. The first thing I always do is when something super triggering or alarming or unsettling happens to you, take a breath. So that is a habit that you can pick up on. So instead of your first gut reaction, practice taking a breath. And you can do little activities like this. For example, go for a walk along the street and be super aware of okay, if something alarming happens to me here, or for the next hour, I'm going to be super present of anything alarming happening to me. And when something alarming does happen, I'm going to take a breath. That's how we train ourselves. We train our mind. It's through practice. So you might not get it right the first time. That's okay. Acknowledge it. So say, hey, in that case, I should have taken a breath and got into my responding frame of mind, but I reacted. Next time, I'm going to do better. So it's acknowledging and working on that habit. It's building that muscle in your brain. So you're driving down the street, stone hits your windshield, there's a crack now. First thing we want to do is, if we've been practicing taking the breath, is take the actual breath. So take a deep breath in, let it go, and just pause. if that means pulling over to the side of the road so you have time to think, pull over. It is so important to communicate exactly what you need, especially if there's another person involved. So if your friend is still chatting away or your coworker is still chatting away in your ear about their day and you notice that, you can say, hey, this is something that's kind of triggered me and I need to process this. Can we just pause this conversation just so I can think this through? And that person now is aware of, okay, you need some space, you need some quiet, you need some time to process. Cool. We're making everyone around us aware of what we need so we can communicate how they can help or not help and really focus on how we're going to respond to the situation. So in this case, maybe you do need to pull over just because there's a lot going on and you don't want to endanger anyone with your driving or you get distracted. So when you pull over, again, take those deep breaths. Think about the options that you have here. So you could get pissed off at your coworker and say, why do I always have to drive because this stuff happens to my car and yada yada yada. Or you can go down into a negative spiral and throw that negative energy out there. Or you can come back to your intentions that you said at the beginning of the day. You can acknowledge that, hey, life happens, these things happen. What can I do to help fix the situation? All right, well, I can call my work and tell them, hey, I'm going to be X amount of time late because I need to take my car to get the windshield fixed. You can call the windshield fixing place and book an appointment with them. And then you can go through the processes of getting that fixed. And acknowledge that, like, yes, this is a shitty situation. No, did you want that to happen to you on a Monday morning when you're stressed out trying to get to work? But you're choosing to respond. Reaction would be cussing off, getting frustrated, saying this is going to ruin your whole day, and letting that have a way bigger impact on your life than it needs to be. When we respond to situations, we give ourselves the power back of not letting them affect us so much, because when we start reacting and we let that negative energy and that stress affect us, it shows up in our body, it shows up in the way we communicate and treat others, and it's not good energy to fuel the fire with. You really want to first take the breath, think about your options, and come from a place of stillness and a place of how can I move forward in the most productive way versus I'm just going to let out all my emotions here. And I'm not saying that letting out your emotions is a bad thing. Definitely don't keep that stuff inside, but the way you let out your emotions is important. So for example, screaming versus taking a deep breath and sighing it out are two ways to let out the emotion, and taking a deep breath is going to feel a lot better than screaming at someone or getting frustrated at someone, because you're going to affect their day, and in turn it's going to affect you right back. So maybe if you do need to scream, you scream into a pillow. Again, there's different ways that we can respond. You can figure out what the healthiest way for you to respond is, but try to make it productive and try to make it something that's actually going to make you feel better and to actually start to fix the situation that you're in. I want to give one more example just because that was kind of more of like a third party that wasn't really a person. Another way that we usually react instead of responding is when we get into arguments with people or when you have a disagreement with someone. So for example, say you and your partner are having a disagreement about something, and they come at you and say, well, you never do this or you never do that. What you can do in that moment, instead of just reacting and snapping back at the person, whether it be a partner, a mother, a father, a sister, a brother, any relationship, is again, take the breath, acknowledge how what that person has said to you made you feel, and then think about how you want to respond back to them to help improve the situation. So oftentimes when we take that breath and we ask ourselves, okay, this is the feeling I'm feeling right now. Maybe it's feeling attacked, maybe it's feeling sad, angry, disappointed. Label it, great. Okay, in these situations when I usually feel attacked, angry, disappointed, sad, how can I express that to this person to have them have a little bit more understanding and want to work with me on this without being defensive right back? So there are ways that you can say things to people that are a little bit less attacky. So for example, starting sentences with I feel. So I feel like I am not these things, or I feel like the situation was different, or I made the assumption this was happening, right? Talking from those I statements instead of making them fact is going to express a less judgmental and a less aggressive approach at that person, and it's going to hopefully reduce their amount of reaction towards you, and then you guys can actually have a productive conversation. Another thing to note, if someone does come at you and you're not ready to have that, like you just feel it in your body that you can't process it right now, or it's going to take you a little bit longer to process, totally fine. Just communicate that to them. Say, wow, I didn't know that that's how you felt. I want to make sure that what I'm telling you right now is coming from a good place, and I want to make sure that my communication is super clear. I just need some time to process this. Because oftentimes some people will throw stuff on you and you weren't ready, right? And you're processing, and maybe they've thought about it for weeks or months, but you haven't. So it's totally fair to say, hey, I definitely want to have this conversation. I didn't realize you were feeling that way. I want to work on this with you. I just need some time to process it. Can you give me X time, and then we can come back to this conversation? And maybe it's just 5 minutes. Can you give me 5 minutes just to gather my thoughts here? I just want to go for a quick walk. I just need to take a breath here, and I'll come back to this. Or can you give me a day? I just need a day to let this sit. Those are all fair ways to respond instead of reacting. Rule of thumb, in my opinion, always delay your response instead of reacting in a way that is not how you actually feel or might cause negative energy to the situation. It's better to wait and come from a really authentic and clear place than to just throw off whatever is coming up for you, because it's oftentimes those gut reactions are not what you actually need or want, and they're just going to be hurtful to that other person. So those are my tips on how to work on responding instead of reacting. First, setting up your day, setting that intention, being really still so you can come at the day from a calm place. Second, practicing those little habits, so putting yourself in situations where you're going to have to choose response or reaction so you can get comfortable with not going with your gut instinct right away and instead taking the breath. Third, communicating to whoever you are interacting with that you might need some time to process this, taking that time you need, whether it be taking a walk, taking a breath, pulling over on the side of the road. And then 4, trying to think of the most productive way forward, not being super blamey or judgmental or angry, but instead coming from a place of compassion, empathy, understanding for yourself and others around you, and coming from what you actually truly feel in your heart, in your head, and not just kind of those off-spur comments that are hurtful to other people and in turn just end up hurting yourself. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful. You can even write down on a little list or sticky note, respond, not react, to remind you. Definitely practice this, put this out in the open. Say for the next 2 hours after this video, you're going to work on responding instead of reacting, and try it out and let me know what you guys think. I really, really, truly believe that if more people practice this, we would have a much healthy, happier world, and your relationships would grow a lot deeper and stronger because of it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you liked it. Please give it a big thumbs up if you do, and subscribe because that really helps this channel. And I'll see you guys soon for another video.